right, so you're looking for some sweet free-to-play games, huh? And you're working with a mid-range PC, right? The kind that runs most things pretty well, but maybe those ultra settings are a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
Totally no need to break the bank to have some fun.
Yeah.
We actually we came across this YouTube video.
Yeah.
The title, well, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it basically translates to like best free games on Steam for mid-spec PCs.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And it's not like super in-depth reviews or anything, more like, quick glances to give you a taste.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So first up, they hit us with Dota 2.
Ah, classic.
Which, I mean, it's a classic for a reason, right?
Oh, yeah.
2 teams, 5 players each, battling it out to destroy the other's base.
Yep.
Sounds simple enough, right?
Yeah.
But ask anyone who's played a MOBA, there's a whole lot of strategy going on.
Oh, tons under the surface. It's interesting they open with Dota 2, though. It's got a bit of a reputation.
For being a bit tough to learn.
Yeah, that's the one. But then the video, it emphasizes, the teamwork aspect and how each character has these unique abilities, hinting that, hey, even if you're brand new, if you find your niche, it kind of clicks.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, yeah, it's a challenge, but stick with it, it's rewarding.
Yeah.
And that actually kind of sets the tone for a lot of the games in this video.
Interesting.
Yeah, because next up is Team Fortress 2, which I'd say is kind of the opposite end of the spectrum.
Okay.
It's a shooter, sure.
Yeah.
But it's all about humor, really.
Yeah.
We're talking like distinct classes, these crazy weapons.
Yeah.
And the visuals, honestly, they wouldn't look out of place in a cartoon.
That's a good point. And by highlighting the visuals, I think they're subtly acknowledging the mid-range PC thing, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like Team Fortress 2 runs on pretty much anything.
Oh, yeah.
And the art style, it ages really well.
Oh, it's timeless.
So it just broadens the appeal, right? Without directly saying, hey, your PC can handle this.
Right. It's like they're speaking directly to the viewer's setup without actually saying it.
Oh, yeah.
Very clever. All right, so moving on, we've got Warframe.
Oh, nice.
This one, you're thrown into the role of a space warrior clad in, well, a warframe.
Of course.
Think fast-paced combat, this constantly evolving world.
Yeah.
And enough customization options to make your head spin.
And the video, it really emphasizes that constant evolution. Like the fact that this game is always being updated.
Oh, constantly.
Which for a free-to-play, that's huge. It's like telling potential players, hey, this isn't just a static experience. We're invested in keeping this fresh.
Yeah, which is key, right? Especially when you're competing for people's time. It's got to be more than just a fun distraction. It's got to have staying power. And speaking of staying power, Path of Exile.
Oh, there you go.
A game practically tailor-made for those who like to really sink their teeth into an RPG.
Absolutely.
We're talking deep character customization, loot drops galore, a sprawling world to explore.
So much to do.
Oh yeah, and did I mention it's free?
It's free. And it's interesting how they place this one almost like a counterpoint to Warframe, all the action. It's like they're acknowledging like, hey, not everyone wants that.
Different playstyles, totally.
Right. Maybe you want that endless grind for loot. Or maybe you just want to jump in for an hour and blast some enemies.
Totally.
Both are valid.
Variety is the spice of the free-to-play life, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of variety, this next game injects a little fantasy into the mix.
Okay, I like it.
Paladins.
All right.
This one's basically Overwatch, but with a fantasy twist.
There you go.
We're talking heroes, each with unique abilities, strategic team battles,
Yeah.
and enough magic and mayhem to make Gandalf blush.
Again, with the comparisons, they're drawing a direct line to a well-established game.
Smart.
So viewers instantly get it. Like, oh, okay, hero shooter fans, this one's for you.
And for our mid-range PC listener, that comparison is also clutch. Like, if your system can handle Overwatch, chances are it can handle Paladins.
Right, exactly.
They're like subtly weaving that compatibility thing throughout this whole video.
Love it, subtly.
Yeah. Okay, up next, Brawlhalla.
Okay.
Fast-paced platform fighting action.
Nice.
Picture this. Colorful cast of characters, each with their own fighting style, their own unique weapons.
Oh.
Duking it out in these arenas full of, like, hazards and crazy surprises.
And notice how they position this one. Right after Overwatch, right, all the hero shooters,
Yeah.
It's almost like they're saying, hey, if the complexity of a hero shooter is a little much,
Yeah.
but you still want that competitive edge, here's something a little more streamlined.
A little more accessible.
Yes, exactly.
Nice segue.
Right.
And speaking of segues, let's shift gears a bit and talk about War Thunder.
All right.
Now this one's for the history buffs.
Okay.
For those who love their battles with a side of, well, realism.
I like it.
Get ready for some serious vehicular combat on land, sea, and air. We're talking historically accurate tanks, planes, and warships going head-to-head.
Whoa.
On maps inspired by real-world locations.
And the emphasis on realism is key here. They're speaking to a different type of gamer, someone who enjoys those intricacies, of a historically accurate vehicle, the challenge of mastering these unique mechanics.
It's like a history lesson come to life, but with explosions.
Way more fun.
Oh yeah, way more fun. And speaking of tanks, because apparently we love our armored warfare.
Right.
The next one up is World of Tanks Blitz.
Ah, yes.
The mobile-focused sibling of the ever-popular World of Tanks.
Of course, yeah.
And like the name suggests, this one is all about the tanks.
Pure tanks.
Yeah, it boasts this massive roster of historically accurate war machines from like all different eras.
It's cool how they include War Thunder and then World of Tanks Blitz back to back,
Yeah.
Like highlighting that there's this whole niche within free-to-play.
Vehicular combat.
Yes. Like if you are into tanks, historical warfare, they got you covered.
It's all about options.
Options. Love it.
Giving the people what they want. And speaking of giving the people what they want, the next game on the list.
Yeah.
This one's for our Battle Royale fans out there, but with a twist.
Ooh, a twist. Okay.
Realm Royale.
Right.
It takes that Battle Royale formula, right?
Oh.
And it just throws in like a dash of fantasy.
I like it.
So imagine battling for supremacy, but with magic, mythical creatures, unique character classes. You name it, it's probably in there.
They even use the word twist. That was smart.
Yeah.
Subtly acknowledges that Battle Royale, it can feel a little,
A little played out.
Yeah. Hey, we know there's a lot out there, but then this one's fresh.
It's all about framing.
Yeah.
And speaking of framing, the final game on our list. This one takes us from the fantastical to the, well, let's just say the undead.
Okay, ready.
Get ready for Unturned. This game throws you into this blocky, zombie-infested world where, well, survival's the name of the game.
Classic. And it's interesting to end on this. After this whole, big spectrum of genres, they wrap up with something so familiar.
Yeah, the zombie survival.
Zombie survival never gets old. It's like they're saying, look, no matter what, there's a free-to-play out there for you.
Even if it means running from zombies.
Exactly.
And you know what? They're not wrong. All right, so we're back. And if you're anything like me, your Steam wish list is probably like bursting at the seams right now with all these free-to-play temptations.
Oh, yeah.
But before we all get lost in a vortex of downloads,
right,
I kind of want to circle back to something we touched on earlier, that whole mid-range PC thing.
Right.
Because let's be real, mid-range, that can mean like a million different things in 2024.
Totally. And the video does like a really clever job of addressing this without ever actually defining it.
Right. Even IS mid-range. But it's like they're speaking directly to those anxieties, like reassuring the viewer.
Totally. Like, don't worry, these games, they'll run.
Yeah, like we got you.
Yeah, we got you. And they do it by showcasing like this range of visual styles.
That's for sure.
You've got like the stylized, almost timeless look of Team Fortress 2, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got something like Warframe, which is definitely more demanding visually.
Sure.
But still totally manageable.
Yeah, and it's a good point to make, right? Because it's like they're saying, look, not everyone's rocking, the latest and greatest hardware.
Of course not.
But that shouldn't stop you from enjoying some like top-tier free-to-play gaming.
Exactly. And it goes even further than that, right? Because they're really emphasizing inclusivity.
Really?
With their choices. It's a variety of genres, each with its own appeal.
It's like they've put together this like buffet of free-to-play goodness, catering to all tastes.
A buffet, I like that.
And speaking of catering to tastes, there's another thread running through this video that I kind of wanted to unpack about.
Okay, yeah.
The whole accessibility thing. And I don't just mean like system requirements.
No, absolutely not.
Right. It goes deeper.
It goes way deeper. A lot of these games are just like designed to be picked up and played, like even if you're a total newcomer.
Exactly. Like remember when we were talking about Dota 2 and how it has that like reputation for being tough to learn?
Oh, yeah. It can be a little intimidating.
But even then, the video was sure to mention like the importance of teamwork, finding a character you click with.
Right, finding your niche.
Yeah. And that kind of focus on accessibility, it carries over, to other games, like Team Fortress 2. The art style alone makes it very approachable.
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't take itself too seriously.
And then you've got Brawlhalla, which really boils down that platform fighter, like to its core components, Easy to just jump in, throw down.
Yeah, no need for 10 hours of tutorials.
Exactly. Which, let's be real, some games these days, it's like you need a PhD to even understand the tutorial.
Oh, it's so true. And it speaks to a broader trend, too, this whole accessibility thing.
Right.
It's the free-to-play market. It's all about, widening the appeal, casting that net as wide as possible.
Right, get as many players as possible.
Yeah.
Which makes sense from
a business perspective.
Well, yeah, because the more people playing, the more potential there is for.
In-game purchases.
There you go.
But hey, if the game's fun, who are we to judge, right?
Exactly. No judgment here. Little microtransaction, never hurt anybody. As long as the game itself is, engaging.
That's another deep dive for another time.
Totally. But you're right. That free-to-play model, it lives or dies on getting a big audience, keeping them engaged. And one way to do that is make the game as, frictionless as possible. Easy to learn.
Precisely. Lower that barrier to entry, offer a variety of gameplay, and boom. You've got yourself a recipe for a huge player base.
It's like they're saying, come one, come all, seasoned gamer, total newbie. Doesn't matter. We've got a free-to-play game with your name on it.
And you know what? I think they might be right. The sheer variety out there is incredible.
It's amazing. But that leads us to, the big question.
Out with it.
With so many options vying for our attention, how do we choose?
Yeah, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we sift through this mountain of free-to-play goodness and find the games that are actually worth our time, our precious, precious time?
Exactly. And, hard drive space.
Right. And that's where things get really interesting. But before we unveil the secrets to navigating this digital dilemma...
Oh, you're going to leave us hanging.
We're just going to dive right back in. Yeah. No time for breaks when there are free games to be played.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so we've established there are a ton of awesome free-to-play games out there, even for, us folks with the mid-range rigs. But with so much choice, it's like, where do you even start? It could be a little paralyzing.
Instead of getting overwhelmed, I think the key is to just reframe it. Don't think of it as a problem. Think of it as an opportunity. Okay, I like where you're going with this. But how do we turn potential gaming paralysis into actual gaming? By being a little strategic and, honestly, a little introspective. Instead of just diving headfirst into the first shiny game you see, take a second. Think about what you're actually looking for. So it's all about knowing yourself. What kind of gamer am I? Exactly. What are your go-to genres? What gets you hyped up in terms of gameplay? Do you crave that fast-paced action, or are you more about something slower, more strategic? It's like dating, but for games. You got to know your deal breakers and your must-haves. Perfect analogy. And just like dating, think about your lifestyle too. Do you have hours to pour into a massive RPG, or are we talking more quick bursts here and there? Yeah. Between, real life stuff. Because time, my friend, time is the one resource even a free-to-play game can't give you back. Ain't that the truth? So you've pondered those deep gaming questions. What's next? What do we do? Well, then you can actually start to narrow things down. And the video we've been talking about kind of gives you a roadmap for that, honestly. Oh, yeah. They've already done some of the work by, grouping games together. Right. We've got our MOBAs over here, our hero shooters, the war simulators. It's like they pre-sorted the buffet for us. Exactly. So if you're man, I love me a good MOBA, boom, start with Dota 2. But if it's that fast-paced shooting action you're after, maybe Team Fortress 2 or Paladins is more your jam. It's all about finding your gaming tribe, even within this giant universe of free-to-play games. And once you've got a few that catch your eye, don't overthink it. Just try them out. Exactly. Downloads are free. Yeah. Your time is precious, sure, but experimenting, that's part of the fun. Totally. Think of it a taste test. You never know what's going to surprise you. And hey, if a game doesn't grab you, no big deal. Uninstall, on to the next. Yeah. There's a whole world of free-to-play goodness out there, just waiting to be discovered. And who knows, you might just find your next gaming obsession. That's the beauty of it, right? The potential is always there. So, to wrap things up, if you're rocking that mid-range PC and feeling that free-to-play itch, don't be scared off by all the options. Take a second, figure out what you want, dive into some genres, try some stuff out, and most importantly, have fun. Couldn't said it better myself.
That's what we're here for. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of free-to-play. And until next time, happy gaming.